you. Our next speaker is Corey Sturmer, followed up by Curtis Williams.
Formally by saying my name's Corey Sturmer, and I do not and have not, you guys know I'm not for fluoridation of the water. And of course I wouldn't be here if if you guys had listened, because we would not be fluoridating, and therefore I would really have no reason to appear. You guys have heard my comments before. You've heard the other comments. I'll agree with them. So this is more of a public service announcement to the public as you guys move forward in deciding how to set about a process of reviewing this in the future. And I put this together because I think it's important, knowing that the OWASA Board is going to basically relegate the debate, if I understand things correctly, to the Orange County, Health Department, Orange County Commissioners, or some other agency. What I've got is just 2 slides to walk through. I found it very interesting in y'all's decision to kind of continue. One of the bodies of kind of policy making that you used to justify the continuation of the policy was the Durham City Council. Well, I was the only person in Durham during the time that they reviewed that policy that was there. So I just want to talk a little bit about the process that they went through, which you guys are now using partially to decide to continue this. And this is something that I've kind of had to reverse engineer as I've gone through the process. And that is, I've got displayed up here the Delphi Method. And the Delphi Method is a structured communication technique originally developed as a systematic forecasting method which relies on a panel of experts. This was developed in the 1950s by the Rand Corporation, and it was originally intended to forecast the impact of technology on warfare. But starting in the 1970s, the Delphi Method was increasingly used in public policy making as a means of facilitating intergovernmental decision making. And unfortunately, what we see, and what I want to warn the public about as we go forward with this quote-unquote review process, is that the technique really gives any governmental agency an umbrella of plausible deniability, as well as a facility to fabricate staged debates to create the illusion of actual public debate and consensus. So moving forward, if you see that little guy with the flag, that's me back in 2011, when I naively went to the Durham City Council to inform them that fluoride is against our rights. You guys have no authority to medicate the water supply. They deferred the decision to the Water Management Department, which I didn't even really know existed, a panel of experts within the Water Management Department who were all pro-fluoridation. They were the ones who responded to my petition, and they read a script, which was basically written, as I discovered, from the CDC and ADA, and they relied on that panel of experts to continue the policy. Information was provided to refute that information in February, March of 2012. Then the Durham City Council, the ball was back in their court. They introduced the Kevin Buchholz from the oral health section of the Department of Health and Human Services, another panel of experts. He did admit that fluoride leaches lead from the pipes, but they considered his testimony so expert that they continued. WTVD released an investigative report on this, and in response to the negative press, they held a Board of Public Health meeting, which included another panel of experts, all of which were all pro-fluoride. They recommended back to the Durham City Council in 2013 to continue the policy, and that's exactly what they did. So if we can garner any information from this little display I have, is that it's just the runaround. This is fighting City Hall, and unfortunately, I think as we move forward to reviewing the policy, we're just going to see more of this same unfortunate application of the Delphi Method to create artificial complexity for the citizens who really want to make a change here. And we're going to end up back here at the OWASA Board with a decision to continue fluoridation. That's my prediction, but we'll see what happens. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. All right, we're going to close the public comment section of the meeting and let the board discuss the issue. Does anyone want to start the discussion? I do think we have a couple questions before us tonight. Is sort of the timeline that we want to study this issue. Do we want to work with the county health department? We have gotten some feedback from the elected officials that they think it needs to be a countywide discussion, and health department would be a good way of doing that. And if we do that, I think we need to give some direction or give some objectives that we have concerns about to that. And since I've started, I'll go ahead and finish my comments. I think the process needs to be transparent. I think we need to be very concerned about the panel makeup. I think have to ensure how we do the public input, ensure that there is public input, and also ensure that during this process we've identified, I'll just pick out a number, 5 or 6 areas that people say that there are issues with, and I think we need to have some comment from the panel on those specific issues. So those are my thoughts. That should give you enough to respond to.
Thank you, Bob. I'd just like to speak my own personal views on this. I have listened very carefully and have taken notes so that I can remind myself of what people said. I also benefited from going to a meeting of the Carrboro Board of Alderman, which took up the issue of fluoridation, and many people who spoke tonight also spoke there. One of the comments made by a member of the Carrboro Board of Alderman was, we, the Board of Aldermen, are not equipped to be a scientific review panel. And I think that this is my personal opinion, I agree with that, and I don't think that we, the OWASA Board, are equipped to be a scientific review panel either. So I think we're headed in the right direction to find a panel of scientists and medical experts that can represent the full range of this issue. So what I think we need to get that group to do is to review the very latest scientific literature and give us their firm recommendation on what should be done. And then it's our job to take that recommendation and make action from there. And just on a personal note, I would hope that the people who are sincerely opposed to fluoridation could recognize that some of those who are currently supporting it are also sincere. I'm fortunate to have my son and his family and his 2 children living here in town, 2 grandchildren ages 4 and 11 months, and I'm very happy that they are drinking water with fluoride in it. And I wish that when I was a young person, I'd had the benefit of that. My dental bills would be a lot smaller now. So that's just a personal comment, but I think we're on the right track.
Yeah, following on a little bit from the previous comments, I think, we're trying to, settle on the public process for periodic review. And I think the letter we have and the communication and the guidance that we are giving to the Orange County Department of Health, what we needs to be more broadly than what's written here. So if we read through the memo, we're asking them to come back and discuss oral health and fluoridation within the next couple of years. And I think, to respond to some of the comments on the board and from the public, what we're asking them for is a more holistic view, not just the dental health piece, but the holistic view of if there's some view on other systemic impacts. I also think that, I think it could be within their scope to review the informed consent issue as well. So I think we're asking for them to give a broader review than what's reflected in the memo. I think we should just, in a revised communication to them, reflect that.
It may or may not work out to accomplish this through some wider Orange County process. I'm a little concerned about that. We need to focus like a laser on this fluoride issue, and we need to make sure that we have a panel that can give us the kind of recommendation we need. And we need to make sure that we have a panel that can give us the kind of recommendation we need. So I'd be a little leery of letting this kind of get dissolved in a broader effort that might not really get us that sharp focus that we need.
You mean being part of another county program is what you mean? Or
Yeah,
just,
I guess I would be afraid we would lose lose control of the schedule and maybe lose control of this intense focus we need on this fluoride issue.
Okay.
Good evening, Board. I used to be a member of the OWASA Board, and I was here when the fluoride issue first came up. For that, I was labeled the public health criminal of the world, a Article 21 lackey, many other kind of negative aspects from, including some of the people you've heard probably in the last couple months. Having said that, I was really disappointed by the way the board handled the issue back then, and I'm disappointed by the way the board is handling it tonight. The proposal before you is totally inadequate for a board that is a community, is made up of people who are supposed to represent the community, not the bottom line. I look back through the last couple months of your guys' discussions on this, and I got to say it. I didn't watch anything, but it sounded kind of familiar. When I was on the board, we did some pretty harebrained things. We cut discussion to 2 minutes because we didn't want to hear from the public. We brought in law enforcement, which had a chilling effect on the community coming before us. I got to say, some of my fellow board members were less than sympathetic. In private, they were actually pretty disdainful of the people coming before them. But the reality is, you have been appointed as members of the community. The bottom line is not the only line that is your concern here. If you really want to put this to bed, and I can understand you do, I can't even believe this is going on 3-4 years after I was involved with it, you have to have a process that's fair.